Today, we are strapping on our nostalgia goggles and diving into a Famicom classic. It's a game that people remember as, well, both a monumental piece of art and an absolute controller-throwing nightmare.
That would be the one.
Hudson Soft's 1986 action-adventure title, Milon's Secret Castle.
And we really have to focus on that original Japanese title, Meikyu Kumikyoku, Milon no Daibuken.
Which translates to?
The Maze Suite, Milon's Great Adventure. And that title, The Maze Suite, that's really our mission today.
Okay.
Because it just perfectly captures the whole tension of the game. We're going to explore how this intensely difficult, non-linear maze game from the early NES era somehow prioritized artistic vision.
Sound great.
And auditory design, exactly, to the point where the music, not the gameplay, really defined its legacy.
Okay, so let's unpack that because the plot itself is so thematic. We've got our hero, Milon. He lives in a place called Hudson Land.
Right.
And in this land, everyone communicates using, well, pure tone.
Yeah.
Music.
Which sets up the core conflict for our hero.
The central tragic flaw. Milon has amusia. He's tone deaf.
He literally cannot understand the main form of communication in his own world. Such a brilliant setup.
It really is.
And that personal crisis just immediately gets blown up into a regional one. An evil wizard, Maharito, invades Castle Garland.
Warlord of the northern region, right?
The very same. His army captures Queen Eliza, or Elshira in some translations, and this is the key part. They steal all the musical instruments.
Plunging the entire land into silence.
Exactly. So Milon, the one person who's already excluded from this musical world, has to be the one to go restore it.
And to do that, he needs a weapon. But he doesn't get a sword or, a laser gun.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Milon gets magical bubbles.
Magical bubbles. And they're not what you'd expect. They're actually multi-purpose.
How so?
Well, first, they're a temporary weapon. You can shoot them at demons, and it stuns them for a few seconds.
But they come back.
Oh, they come right back, which just adds this constant pressure to every single room. But that's not even their main function.
The real purpose is discovery.
Precisely. The bubble's true function is as a tool. The world is built of these blocks, you see.
Hard blocks and soft blocks.
And when you shoot a bubble at a soft block, it breaks. That is the only way you can find hidden items, secret shops, or even new paths into other parts of the castle.
So that hunt for secrets is pretty much the entire game.
The entire grueling experience. Yeah.
And we have to talk about Castle Garland itself, because grueling feels like an understatement.
It is. You're navigating this 4-story castle, but it's completely non-linear. You might go through a door or a window, or you might have to use an item like a hammer to just break down a wall.
It's less of a platformer and more of a maze,
Yeah.
like a hidden object game mixed with an action game.
And the difficulty comes from these design choices that were just punitive, even for the NES.
Okay, like what?
For one, when Milon gets hit, he doesn't get that brief moment of invincibility. The blink that most games give you.
Oh, that's huge. So there's no recovery time.
None. You can get hit and then immediately get hit again. Your energy bar, they call it power, can just be wiped out in seconds if you get tracked.
Wow.
And it gets worse. You get one life.
One
life. You die, it's game over, back to the start.
But there was a continue command, right? I read about that.
There was, but it was hidden. You had to hold left and press start on the title screen. And here's the kicker.
Go on.
It only works after you've already found the very first crystal.
You're kidding. So you have to beat a huge chunk of the game just to earn the right to continue.
That's pure 80s arcade malice right there on your home console. Just a profound lack of forgiveness.
But the real thing, the thing that made everyone throw their controllers,
Yeah.
it was the blocks.
The soft blocks. We have to talk about the soft blocks.
They look exactly the same as the hard blocks, don't they?
Identical. There is zero visual clue. You are just wandering through this labyrinth, shooting bubbles at random walls, hoping you find something.
So progression is just sheer luck.
Sheer luck, or an incredible amount of trial and error, or, and this is key, you had the manual that came with the game.
Which actually gave you hints.
It did. It changes the game from a guessing game into a memory test. If you didn't have that manual, you were playing blind.
So what's the end goal of all this frustration? What are you actually trying to do in the maze?
You're trying to get to Maharito on the 4th floor. To do that, you need to collect 7 crystals, plus 2 key items, the crown and the staff.
And the crystals come from bosses.
6 of them do, yeah. From these 6 demon beasts with names like Homa, Doma, and Kama, you get the 7th and final crystal from Maharito himself.
And these bosses, were they at least, interesting? Or just difficult?
They were notoriously difficult, but not because they were complex. They mostly just amplified all of Milon's weaknesses.
So lots of fast projectiles, random patterns.
Exactly. They jump around firing things, and since you don't have that invincibility blink, it's just so easy to get overwhelmed. The third floor boss, the skeleton guy, was famous in Japanese game magazines at the time for being a real roadblock.
You basically had to grind for upgrades just to survive.
You absolutely did. You needed those crystals to make your bubbles bigger and shoot farther just to stand a chance.
Okay, so the whole thing sounds designed to punish you, relentlessly.
It does.
But now we have to flip this entire narrative, because so far, it just sounds like a frustrating mess. Where is the beauty? Where does that Japanese subtitle, The Maze Suite, come in?
This is where the whole thing comes together. The true heart of the game isn't the combat, it's this beautiful side quest.
Which is?
Finding 7 hidden musical instrument boxes. There's one tucked away in a secret spot in each major stage.
So the reward for guessing right, for finally finding that one soft block after 100 tries, it's a music box.
It's a piece of music. It connects the pain of discovery directly to the joy of creating sound. It's brilliant.
What happens when you find one?
When Milon touches a music box, he's transported to a bonus stage. It's a mini-game that takes place on a musical staff.
Right, and you're collecting notes.
Notes for points, sharps for double points, and you have to avoid the flats, which take points away. All those points get turned into coins you can use in the shops.
But that's not the real reward.
Not at all. The real, visceral reward is what happens to the game's background music.
This is the aha moment. Tell us what it sounds like.
Okay, so the music in that bonus stage, which is the game's main theme, starts off incredibly sparse. The very first time you go there, you see just one little elf in the background band.
Playing what?
A taiko drum. Just a simple, lonely percussion track. It sounds thin, almost hollow. It really reflects Milon's isolation.
But then you find another music box.
And when you go back to the bonus stage, there's a second elf. This one has a cymbal, then a third with a tuba.
So with every box, a new instrument joins the band.
Precisely. It builds layer by layer. After the tuba, you get an ocarina, then a harp, a trumpet, and finally a violin.
The music literally grows with you.
You're actively constructing the soundtrack. It goes from that sparse drum beat to a full, lush 7-instrument ensemble. It gains complexity and depth as you succeed at the hardest parts of the game.
That's an incredible reward system.
And it was revolutionary for the time. The composer, Takeaki Kunimoto, you have to remember, the Famicom's sound chip had, 5 channels?
2 pulse waves, a triangle, noise, and a sample channel.
Yeah. So to create a 7-instrument suite like this, it took some serious engineering and, frankly, a huge artistic choice.
And they had to be fighting the hardware constantly.
They were. Our sources confirm that the team, especially the lead designer, Sasakawa Toshiyuki, deliberately set aside a massive chunk of the game's tiny ROM capacity just for the BGM data.
They chose sound over graphics.
They chose sound over almost everything else, and it paid off. The music got incredibly high praise. Players called the final 7-part version an example of strategy beauty.
The beauty you earn through the brutal strategy.
Exactly. The thematic irony is perfect. Milon, the tone-deaf boy, is the one who brings the music back. And the player who endures the brutal game design is the one who gets to build that perfect piece of music.
It becomes the whole reason to keep playing.
It absolutely does.
So looking at the reception, it was a big hit in Japan initially, wasn't it?
It was. When it came out on the Famicom in '86, Famitsu gave it a 29 out of 40. A very strong score. They recognized the innovation.
But that success didn't really translate when it came to the West.
Not at all. It came out in North America 2 years later, September of '88. And the eventual reception, especially on later re-releases, was scathing. Like a 2 out of 10 from GameSpot, 4 out of 10 from IGN for the Virtual Console version.
What happened in those 2 years? It can't just be the difficulty.
It was the timing. The whole market evolved so fast. Between '86 and '88, the US got games like Zelda II, which had huge worlds and battery-backed saves.
And Mega Man 2?
And Mega Man 2, which was also hard but had passwords and just perfected that style of action platforming.
So by the time Milon showed up, with its one-life system and no save feature,
it just felt archaic. It was seen as obsolete. The art was praised, but the mechanics, the controls, they just got slammed. In 1986, it was cutting edge, but by late 1988, it felt like a frustrating artifact.
Speaking of artifacts, the development story is pretty interesting. It was a tiny team.
Oh yeah, only 5 or 6 people, and one guy, Sasakawa Toshiyuki, did the concept, the programming, the art, almost everything. It was a real passion project.
And that led to some weird, charming quirks, right? Like the thing with Takahashi Maijin.
Yes, the master of the 16 shot per second button mash. The Famicom version actually had a turbo speed measurement function built right into the title screen.
That is so cool. You could just sit there and test your button mashing speed.
It totally taps into that high score culture Hudson was famous for, and here's the best part. The programmer intentionally inflated the reading by about 10%. He wanted to make sure players who were trying to hit that legendary 16 shots per second could actually see it on the screen, even if their old turbo controllers weren't perfect.
A benevolent lie. I love that.
It really shows how much they cared about the player's experience, even in that small way.
But they did eventually fix the bigger problems, didn't they? Years later.
They did. In 1993, there was a Game Boy port called Milon's Maze Suite. It added a password feature, which was a lifesaver.
And they toned down the difficulty.
Yeah, they adjusted enemy patterns, made it more manageable for a portable game. It even had new music tracks. It was a huge update, though they did take out the turbo measurement function.
A small price to pay.
A very small price.
So, to sum this all up, Milon's Secret Castle is this just fascinating artifact.
Yeah.
It's a game driven by this singular artistic vision where the music was just as important, if not more important, than the level design.
And that created this beautiful world, but it was attached to this brutally difficult game that demanded just an absurd level of patience. The central tension is just undeniable. You have Milon, who can't process music, on a quest to restore it. But the game's most lasting universal impact was made specifically because of its music. The sound design was this tangible emotional payoff that almost no other Famicom game could touch.
The whole point of the journey was Milon recovering those 7 instruments to build the perfect song.
One layer at a time.
So the real win for the player wasn't beating Maruito, it was the drive to finally complete and hear that full 7-part ensemble.
Exactly.
So here's something to mull over. What other games have you played where the soundtrack wasn't just in the background, but was the true, tangible in-game reward?